Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive on a really interesting topic, brain health.
Hmm.
We recently had a chance to speak with neuroscientist Dr. Alicia Vargas,
Oh, wow.
and she shared some fascinating insights on the 5 key factors that contribute to a healthy brain.
I'm excited to hear this. I mean, who doesn't want to know how to keep their brain in tip-top shape, right?
Exactly. So let's dive right in.
Yeah.
What really struck me about Dr. Vargas's perspective is this idea that brain health is not static. It's a dynamic process. It's constantly evolving and being shaped by our experiences and choices.
That's so interesting. So you're saying it's not just a fixed state that we're born with.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
she emphasized that each brain is unique. There's no one-size-fits-all model.
That's actually very reassuring to hear. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people worry about whether their brain is normal or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the first myths that Dr. Vargas debunked was this idea that we're stuck with the brain we're born with. She stressed that our brains are constantly restructuring themselves. Every experience, every piece of information we absorb contributes to this ongoing rewiring.
So it's less like a finished building and more like a city that's constantly under construction.
A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And just like a city needs the right resources to thrive, so does our brain. Which brings us to Dr. Vargas's first key for a healthy brain: diet. She highlighted the crucial link between the gut and the brain, what's known as the gut-brain axis.
Okay, we've all heard the saying, you are what you eat, but how does that actually play out in the brain?
Well, Dr. Vargas explained that the gut is home to trillions of bacteria, collectively known as the gut microbiome. And the health of this microbiome can have a profound impact on brain function.
Profound impact in what way? Like, how does that actually work?
For example, certain gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, which, as you know, play a key role in mood regulation. Other bacteria influence inflammation levels throughout the body, including the brain.
So you're saying that what we eat is essentially feeding our gut bacteria, which then influences our brain chemistry.
Precisely. And Dr. Vargas pointed out that the modern diet loaded with processed foods, fried foods, and excess sugar is actually feeding the wrong kinds of bacteria.
Ah, that makes sense. So like that irresistible urge to finish a whole bag of chips or that energy crash after a sugary drink, that's my gut bacteria in
Well,
action.
these foods promote the growth of bacteria that thrive on sugar and simple carbs. But these bacteria, in turn, can contribute to inflammation and even impair cognitive function.
Wow, so it's not just about weight gain, it's about the actual health of our brain cells.
Exactly. Dr. Vargas really emphasized the importance of feeding the beneficial bacteria, the ones that produce those mood-boosting neurotransmitters and help keep inflammation in check.
Okay, so how do we feed those good bacteria? What do they like to eat?
Fiber, lots and lots of fiber, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. These are the foods that nourish a healthy gut microbiome, which in turn supports a healthy brain.
So basically ditch the junk food and load up on the good stuff.
Got it. Pretty much. And that's just the first key. There's so much more to uncover about how to keep our brains healthy and functioning at their best.
Well, I'm all ears. I'm ready to dive into the next key.
Okay, great. So let's move on to Dr. Vargas' second key, which is all about quality sleep. Now, when we talk about giving our brains the right fuel, we can't forget about sleep.
Right.
Dr. Vargas's next key for a healthy brain is quality sleep.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We often underestimate just how crucial those 6 to 8 hours of shut-eye are.
Absolutely. We all know that groggy feeling after a bad night's sleep.
Yeah.
But how does sleep deprivation actually affect our brains on a deeper level?
Well, Dr. Vargas explained that sleep is when our brain gets to work cleaning up.
Cleaning up.
Yeah, it's like a nightly detox for our brain. It cleans up all the metabolic byproducts that accumulate throughout the day. This is also when memories are consolidated and neural connections are strengthened.
So if we skimp on sleep, we're essentially depriving our brains of this essential maintenance.
Exactly. Sleep deprivation can lead to a whole host of issues: impaired cognitive function, difficulty concentrating mood swings, and even an increased risk of chronic diseases.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely much more irritable and prone to making bad decisions when I'm sleep deprived.
Right. And it's not just about the quantity of sleep, but the quality too. Dr. Vargas emphasized the importance of good sleep hygiene. Things like sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, and avoiding screen time in the hour before bed.
Wait, why is screen time before bed so bad? I've heard that, but never really understood why.
It's because the blue light emitted from our devices can interfere with the production of melatonin.
Melatonin.
Yeah. The hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle. It's like telling your brain to stay awake when it should be winding down.
So those late night scrolling sessions are actually messing with our brain chemistry.
They are, and creating a dark, quiet, and cool room can make a world of difference in the quality of your sleep.
It sounds like prioritizing sleep is not just about feeling rested. It's about giving our brains the optimal conditions to function at their best.
Absolutely. And that brings us to Dr. Vargas's third key. Managing stress, chronic stress, can have a really detrimental impact on the brain, particularly the prefrontal
A
cortex.
prefrontal cortex, remind me what that does again.
It's essentially the executive manager of our brain responsible for planning, decision-making, emotional regulation, all those higher level functions.
Right, so when we're stressed, this executive manager gets thrown off track.
Exactly. Under chronic stress, the prefrontal cortex can become less efficient, leading to problems with focus, memory, and emotional control.
Yikes. So how do we protect our prefrontal cortex from the ravages of stress?
Well, Dr. Vargas highlighted the importance of finding healthy coping mechanisms, things like mindfulness and meditation. These practices can help strengthen the prefrontal cortex's ability to stay online even when we're feeling overwhelmed.
Meditation isn't really my thing. Are there other things that can help reduce stress?
Absolutely. Dr. Vargas emphasized that it's about finding what works for you. It could be spending time in nature, listening to music, or engaging in hobbies you enjoy. Anything that helps you de-stress and shift your focus away from the sources of anxiety.
It sounds like it's less about eliminating stress altogether and more about finding healthy ways to manage it.
Exactly. And Dr. Vargas also stressed the importance of actively cultivating our brains, which is her fourth key. It's not enough to simply manage stress and get enough sleep. We need to engage our minds with stimulating activities.
So it's like going to the gym for our brains.
A perfect analogy. And one of the best brain workouts, according to Dr. Vargas, is reading. It's a fantastic way to expand vocabulary, acquire knowledge, and sharpen those critical thinking skills.
I love reading, but I often feel like I forget most of what I read. Any tips for retaining information?
Dr. Vargas suggests going beyond passive reading and engaging with the material actively. Take notes, highlight key passages, discuss what you've read with others, or even try summarizing it in your own words. The key is to make connections and think critically about the information.
That makes sense. It's about turning reading into an active learning experience.
Precisely. And while technology can be a great tool for learning, Dr. Vargas also cautioned against its potential pitfalls.
Oh, how so?
She used a fascinating study about London taxi drivers to illustrate this point. Before GPS, these drivers had to memorize a vast network of streets.
Wow.
And this actually resulted in a measurable increase in the size of their hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory.
So their brains were physically changing in response to the demands of their job.
Exactly. But as GPS became more prevalent, researchers noticed that the hippocampus in newer taxi drivers wasn't showing the same level of growth. Their brains were relying on technology to do the remembering for them.
That's a bit unsettling. Are we losing our cognitive abilities by outsourcing them to technology?
It's a valid concern. Dr. Vargas argues that we need to be mindful of this trend and make sure we're not sacrificing our own cognitive abilities in the process. It's about striking a balance. We can use technology to enhance our learning and memory, but we shouldn't let it replace our own efforts to engage our brains actively.
It's like using a calculator to solve complex math problems. It's a useful tool, but it shouldn't replace our understanding of the underlying concepts.
A great analogy. And speaking of actively engaging our bodies and minds, Dr. Vargas's fifth and final key to a healthy brain is exercise. We often associate exercise with physical health, but it's equally crucial for our brains.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard that exercise can boost mood and improve cognitive function, but how does it actually work?
Well, physical activity stimulates the production of BDNF, a protein that's essential for the growth and survival of brain cells. Think of it as fertilizer for your brain, helping those neurons thrive and connect.
So exercise is literally feeding our brains.
In a way, yes. And Dr. Vargas highlighted the benefits of both aerobic exercise, like running or swimming, and strength training. Aerobic exercise gets the blood pumping, delivering oxygen and nutrients to the brain, while strength training helps build muscle mass and improve overall physical function.
And let's not forget those mood-boosting endorphins that exercise releases, like a natural antidepressant.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that Dr. Vargas challenged this common trend of reduced physical activity after our school years. She emphasized that prioritizing exercise throughout life is essential for maintaining a healthy brain and body. It's about finding activities we enjoy and making them a part of our routine.
So there you have it, Dr. Vargas's 5 keys to a healthy brain. A healthy diet that nourishes your gut microbiome, prioritizing quality sleep, managing stress, effectively cultivating your mind through active engagement and learning, and incorporating regular exercise into your routine.
Those 5 factors are all interconnected, and they work together to support optimal brain function throughout our lives.
It's like building a strong foundation for a healthy brain. Not just for now, but for years to come.
Right. It's an investment in our long-term well-being. And the best part is that we have the power to make these choices every single day.
Exactly. Dr. Vargas has given us the roadmap. Now it's up to us to follow it.
Absolutely. Taking those steps, making those choices, creating an environment where our brains can thrive.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I'd say the most important thing to remember is that your brain is incredibly adaptable and resilient. You have more control over its health and function than you might realize. By incorporating those 5 keys, diet, sleep, stress management, mental stimulation, and exercise, you can empower your brain to function at its best throughout your life.
That's such an inspiring message. A reminder that it's never too late to start prioritizing our brain health. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us for this fascinating exploration of brain health. We'll see you next time.